Hi, everyone. Welcome to the OK Den Show. I am Titia Owens, the Madre.
Hey, y'all. I'm Chyna Elizabeth, the daughter. Welcome back to another show.
Yay! So we're going to get into this area of discipline today. So I believe that we're going to stay on this subject a minute because I've had a few mothers talk to me about assisting with their children. These teenagers right now are struggling with following the rules, or they are just trying to figure out their way.
Yeah.
And so these parents are having a rough time as well. And just know that when we are given our suggestions and our thought processes, a lot of them are from our own personal experiences.
For sure.
Now, what worked for us may not work for you, but our job is to share with you the things that brought positive responses.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump right into it. So go ahead. You want to say something
Go
first?
ahead.
The first thing I want to say about disciplining children is to have clear expectations.
Definitely.
You know, having a clear expectation, that means creating boundaries. It means making sure they're clear on their curfew, on their chores, on their responsibilities, and also clear on their behavior.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that they understand the reasoning behind the idea. So say, for instance, if you say, I am making sure that you understand that there is respect given in this home.
Yeah.
And when there is disrespect, there are going to be consequences. Once you have a clear expectation of what that is, breaking that down, giving them scenarios of what that looks like for you, what your expectation is, then they should carry that out. And if they don't carry that out, you have to be real clear on what's going to happen if they don't carry that out.
I'll say, my mother was very much a disciplinarian. And so she made everything very clear.
But wait a minute, what is a disciplinarian? We kind of need to give that.
So, you know how some people don't have two people in the home, but my mother was the one, if you were to get in trouble, you would have to go to her and she would discipline you.
She would give you the consequences.
Yes.
Which is me.
She is her.
Yeah.
And so I knew, my brother knew, everybody knows that my mother is a disciplinarian, and the way that these mothers have come to her and don't even know her on that level of disciplinarian, but they just know her.
I think I walk with discipline on me.
Something about her just gives. I can get your child in check, because the people just be coming, and it's like they don't even know how much you was a disciplinarian to your own kids. But yeah, you definitely made it very clear and known, like, y'all gonna have to follow these rules. These are your chores. These are your curfews. These are all the things that you need to do. And if you don't do these, there will be consequences. And she was not lying about those consequences. And she did it every single time. It was never a time where it was like, oh, you'll get a pass this time. You know, I understand you were having a little outburst. It's okay. I'm just gonna it never happened.
No, I don't understand outbursts. They don't make sense to me. And so when I don't understand something, the first thing I think of is, should I spare the rod? Absolutely not.
No, her mind automatically goes to, oh, she needs a whooping. She needs to be taught. Automatically.
Period.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm that way, I was disciplined, but I received very few whoopings as a child. And again, I'm not going to say that I'm better for it or I'm not better for it. I'm going to say it caused me to become more rebellious because I felt I could get away with more. Because I felt I could get away with more, I tried more because I did not fear a whooping, or I didn't fear consequences. So because of that, in my raising of children, and I knew they were from me, and
Yeah.
they usually say you pass down
And she did.
who you are to
Yeah.
your children. And I saw that in my children early on. I saw that my children were a lot like myself. They had somewhat of a rebelliousness to them. They were very strong-willed, somewhat stubborn. So my mindset was, well, that's going to require stronger discipline. And then
Yeah.
I was a single parent. My children's father did not live in the same state
Yeah.
as I did. So he was not here with us to do any kind of discipline.
Yeah.
And then their stepfather didn't come into their lives until they were older.
Yeah.
So the foundation had been established. So I had to make sure that if I'm raising a young man and a young woman, that they were going to understand clear expectations and clear consequences.
Yeah. It's so funny though, being that you didn't have the discipline and it made you rebellious, and then for me having all of the discipline and still being like rebellious.
Yeah. So
It
that,
was like extreme opposites.
but that's again, the Lord allows, I believe he allowed me to experience it because he needed me to see how I was. And I was okay with it. My thing was I still was leaning on the Lord for direction.
For sure.
And, you know, as parents, we do not do things perfectly. That's not the point. We are there to guide them,
Yeah.
to give them the direction that they need to go in and give them as much wisdom as possible, whatever that means to us. However, we learned it growing up. We take some of those things, the pluses and the minuses, and we add them to the way that we train up our children. We don't always know the outcome, but we're going to try to give you some tools that can assist, because I can say that even though Chyna had gone through a rebellious state, the Lord still brought her back around because there was a foundation laid of relationship
Yeah.
and communication.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that we get on those things. So consistent consequences.
Yeah.
Consistent consequences are necessary.
For sure.
The thing about it is, if you have nothing to fear, if you don't have anything to be afraid of in the sense of, if I do this, this is going to happen, the negative outcome of what I'm going to do, I need to be more afraid of that than to try and go ahead and get around my parents.
Yeah.
And a lot of times parents don't always have consistent consequences.
Yeah.
Does your child know that when you do something, there's a price that's going to be paid?
Yeah. I'll say I was consistently rebellious and I was consistently disciplined. I got the reputation of, you're always on punishment. You're always in trouble. Why don't you have your phone? You never have your phone. Like, I was that kid who was always in trouble. So I think she had the consistency thing down, whether that be for me taking makeup away or having my phone taken or not being able to go out with my friends or not being able to watch TV or, you know, having to wear my hair or certain things, the things that I really appreciated.
Not
I couldn't
getting your nails
I
done.
couldn't get my nails done and wear the cute clothes I wanted to wear and all the
They
things.
definitely missed the parties.
All the parties. I was throwing a party and the day of got in trouble and the party was canceled
Yeah.
immediately. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it definitely was very consistent.
How did that make you feel though when you knew you had to tell your friends that you were canceling the party?
Oh, I was devastated because we were all looking forward to it. I was in middle school, I think, when this happened. And I mean, everybody was talking about it. It was going to be such a good time. And then for me to get in trouble, it's like, oh. But my friends weren't too surprised because they know my mother and they know me. So it was like, you know, can I be surprised? No. But it was not fun. It wasn't fun at all. I was very humbling. Like, you thought you was about to be having a big party, but absolutely not.
And I'll say too, sometimes harsh consequences can cause rebellion. To the child, it can feel harsh to them. It may not be harsh to us because in our minds, you did the crime.
Right.
So you got to do the time.
Right.
However, for young people, they don't always receive it that way.
No.
Especially this new generation that we have.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of children. A lot of times what's happening is parents are waiting later in life to discipline their children. So when the child finally receives consequences, that doesn't make sense.
Right. They're like, what is this?
Like, why are you trying this new thing on me?
Yeah.
So you have to start early.
That's true.
That's another thing too. Start early. Don't wait until they're 10 and 11 when you're saying, oh, they understand consequences. No, they understand consequences when they understand yes and no.
Right.
My son, when he was 3 years old, we had a room called it was the formal living room, but I was calling it the ladies' room because I used to have Bible studies in that room. Mm-hmm. And there was a step up to get into that room. Now it was open. Mm-hmm. There was no door in front of it, but once you walked up the step, you were in the ladies' room. Mm-hmm. So the people in the ladies' room would see Chris at 3 years old walking by and they say, oh, Chris, come in here. And he would go, and they would go, Chris, you can come in here. He would look at me and I would just be sitting there. I wouldn't have any facial expression whatsoever. And he would be saying, no. And the reason why he would say no was because he had gotten popped on his hand a few times for stepping up into the ladies' room. And the reason why, there were a lot of breakable things in there. And I did not want him in that room at all without my supervision or me telling him yes.
Yeah.
So he didn't care who told him
I love it.
that he could come into the ladies' room at 3 years old.
Yeah.
They would say, come on in, you can come on in. And he would go, no, because he understood the consequences. That was just your hand is going to be popped.
That's so good.
And he didn't like that. He didn't like the pop ministry at all.
Yeah.
So
that's so good. It just makes me think about too, you being the disciplinarian and my dad being total opposite.
Yes.
I know my dad will never hit me.
Yeah.
And I hold that to a high regard because I would try it with my dad. I definitely would. The attitude, the talking back, he got it all.
She tried it with him.
No, I definitely did. And he, he just took it because I was his little princess. But it's so, because night and day, I would never
try that with me.
It with my mom, but I got in trouble in Connecticut with my dad. He was supposed to whoop me, didn't whoop me. No, he wasn't gonna whoop me. But when I got home, months later, when I got home, I still got that whooping.
Because what happened was, her father called me to tell me what she had done. And I told him, I said, you need to discipline her. And he kept saying he was going to discipline her, but he never did. So I made sure I told her myself, I said, Chyna, just so you know, your dad is supposed to discipline you, but even if he doesn't, when you get home from the summer, because she spent the summer with her dad.
Right.
When you come home from the summer, it could be 90 days from now. You are still going to get a whooping when you get home. And she did.
And I did.
Yeah, I didn't forget.
As soon as I got home. It wasn't even a welcome, I missed
Love you. Get the belt. That's how I am. And that's just because, again, I just know it's necessary. But the thing about it with my children, my children also knew that I simply adored them.
For sure.
This was never a thing about trying to hurt them. This was never a thing trying to make them feel terrible about themselves. It was strictly that there are consequences to the things that you do. And we sat and talked about it. Like, even after I would discipline them, then I'd have a conversation with them and go, okay, so how do you feel about this? Yeah. What is it that you could have done different?
Yeah.
Or, how could we have made a different how could we made a different decision to do this? We didn't have to do this.
Yeah. It's so funny. She would definitely give us loving talks right after a whooping.
Always.
And did I want to hear them? No.
No.
Because you just whooped me. You know, we have nothing to talk about. We don't even have to see each other for a good few hours if it was up to me. But she would always come back so sweet and nice. Like, I just want you to know I love you and I want you to understand why you're getting a whooping. I'm like, girl, I don't want to hear this right now. But then you get all emotional and then you gotta hug her, tell her you love her. And you gotta move on like nothing happened.
Yeah, because we're not trying to stay there.
Oh, gosh.
We're not trying to live in a place of anger or frustration. We just want you to understand there are consequences. And I just feel like, you know, again, a lot of people don't understand that. Mm-hmm. And that was something that I learned just from listening to other parents and their ways of disciplining and the processes. And I remember rules without relationship equal rebellion. Rules without relationship equal rebellion, meaning you can give them all these rules, but then if you're not loving with them, if you're not talking to them, because I mean, they still try some things, but I feel like they would have tried even more.
For sure.
If they didn't have those consequences and if they didn't have that relationship with me.
For
I think
sure.
some of the times they felt like, I want to try it, but I'm not going to try it. And then there were other times they were like, we're just going to try it.
Yeah.
And that's just because that's the sin nature in us. We are born with a sin nature. So there are going to be things. I tell parents all the time, do not trust your children.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you attest to that non-trusting?
I already done told y'all I was rebellious now. I had my time. Me and my brother would do things together, scheming. We knew we had a truce, okay? I ain't snitching on you. You ain't snitching on me. So we would be helping each other out, planning out things, making sure, is she home yet? No, she ain't home yet. Just different things. We were planning and scheming and doing all the things, you know. So definitely do not trust your kids because they know.
They know your schedule.
Exactly.
They know your schedule is better than you.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. We paying attention to every detail. But you know, she is filled with the Holy Spirit.
Well,
because it will be so random. Like anything I would do, she automatically gets a
feeling.
A feeling. Just intuition of something ain't right. What? I done been on my best behavior.
So
I done did all the things. You would think it would be okay, but she like, no, the Holy Spirit is telling me that you don't need to go there.
Right.
Whole time I'm trying to sneak and go do something else. Tell her I'm with a friend. And she know.
Yeah. Well, again, these are my children. And
yeah,
I was the queen of sneak.
Yeah.
I practiced doing things around my parents.
Yeah.
It was a lifestyle. It became game at one point.
Yeah.
Where I would see what I could get away with, how long I could get away with it, how many places I could go without them knowing.
Yeah.
It was literally a game for me. And that was that spirit that had not been broken. And so because of that, and my father was the exact same way.
Yeah.
And my father talked to me about it all the time. He was like, you are my child.
Yeah.
And if you are anything like me, you are definitely going to be in trouble.
It's a generational curse, guys.
Again, sin nature. It is who we are. We are sinful at heart. So the Bible tells us that, you know, when we spare the rod, we spoil the child. In other words, we already have a sin nature. We are already ready to do wrong, to go in the opposite direction of what is right. We're already ready to do that. So our job as a parent is to have our eyes open, be intentional, because I was very intentional with my children.
For sure.
I think also because I was a single parent, And because I knew who I was and I knew what I came from, it made my antennas even higher to focus on them and what they possibly could be doing or how they could possibly be thinking. So that was always in my mind, that I don't need to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're not telling the truth. They are planning something behind my back, and I need to nip it in the bud, or I need to figure out some kind of way to make the turn where they think they're going this way, but they're actually about to go another way. Or whatever the plan was, it's not going to go the way they intended because now their mom has gotten involved.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on soft parenting?
I don't understand what soft parenting means. Explain that.
Basically, in this new generation, the parents are trying, because of childhood trauma and claiming that being a disciplinarian there becomes trauma from that and stuff like that. They're calling this new stuff soft parenting, where they're not necessarily whooping the children, just more conversation and slight discipline like timeouts and stuff like that.
No, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Now, again, you have your way of doing things. I am not minimizing that at all.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. That's not what the Lord tells me.
Right.
He doesn't say anything about soft parenting in the Word of God. And that is what I chose to follow to raise my children.
Yeah.
Now, there were times we had conversations, but there was still going to be some consequences involved.
For sure.
It might not have always been a whooping, but because that foundation was laid, they were fearful of getting one. They didn't know if they were going to get one or not, but most of the time they did.
I was about to say, I don't remember one time where I did not get a whooping until I became older.
I don't remember.
Ooh,
but what
I think she does.
I don't remember. But what I will say,
that's hilarious.
Words become minimized.
Yeah.
The more you talk,
then
that gives my mind the thought process of, oh, I'm just gonna have to listen and hear what she has to say, and then I can go back to doing what I want to do. Because that's how I thought.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying she did, but that's how I thought.
No, I will say, though, some people take discipline with words too hard. I think it's all about knowing your child as well.
I agree with that.
Because some people have told me, like, just hearing someone yell at them or give them discipline really hurts them more than a whooping. So I think it just depends on the person. Me personally, I feel like words wouldn't have done anything.
They didn't.
But I know there are some people who are not running the whole lecture.
And again, it's you as a parent, you have to know your children.
Right.
The thing of this is what I believe when it came to my own children. I knew who I was.
Yeah.
Now, they were not me identically, but they were a lot like me in the sense of trying things, wanting to experiment or figure out if they could get away. That was who I was.
Yeah.
So for me to have that mindset about myself, I definitely felt discipline was going to play a major role in me with my children, because again, I feel like the less discipline that you have, the harder it is to follow authority, period.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I feel like that's why all these kids are so bad now.
I agree.
What, just in school, disrespecting the teachers, the staff. It's like, it starts in the home. If your kids are not respecting you at home, what makes you think they're going to go out and respect other elders? Like, I just don't understand. And I think that's where the downfall is right now, because of this soft parenting and people. Well, we got young parents that have no structure themselves.
Correct.
So raising kids, they don't know what to do and aren't going to other people for wisdom and getting insight or reading the word on
raising their children.
Yeah, on raising their children. And it's bringing a lot of undisciplined children into this world and into these schools. And with all these different organizations, and that's why you're seeing all these shootings and kids punching and fighting teachers.
It's out of hand.
It's ridiculous. Like, I wish I would.
I wish you would.
Oh my goodness.
First of all, no teacher should ever be calling me, telling me anything that my children have done. Because if I got a call from a teacher about my children,
even just talking in class,
I didn't care what it was. To me, that's disrespectful. That my children are disrespecting the teacher. She is an adult. He is an adult, meaning the teachers. And my children are there to learn. They are not there to socialize. They are not there to be flipping in the hallway. They are not there to be doing all kind of tricks with their mouths by running it. That's what my kids was trying to do. My son was a talker and my daughter was a flipper. She liked to cartwheel down the hallway.
I did.
Instead of walking in the line.
I did.
Which would cause her physical body to fall into somebody else, which could cause harm.
I was in gymnastics at that time, and I was feeling like I was really on to something. So I would be doing some cartwheels and, all the things, maybe a handstand.
She stopped that real quick, though, when she realized that cartwheel was going to turn into a paddle when she got home. And that's what I did. I had a paddle. And it was two-sided. One had her name on one side. One had Chris's name on the other side. And on the paddle, each time they would have the paddle used, the paddle was called Mr. Do-Right. Mr. Do-Right had the listings of the things that they would get in trouble for. And Chyna's most of the time would be either cartwheeling or flipping or doing something in the hallway or toward another student or talking too much. She had this thing too. She liked the fellowship and class when she felt it was a little boring. So therefore, Mr. Do-Right had to have a meeting with her. Yeah, time brings about a change, but now she actually has a platform where she can talk as much as she likes. But at that time, she was getting in trouble. But I'll say this too.
That's hilarious.
I don't understand why parents automatically take the sides of their children when children naturally lie.
Yeah.
Now, again, every child is not telling a lie. I know that. Every child is not telling a lie. But for the most part, if we go back to our own childhood, if we think about things that we did, it was usually with the mindset to do what we wanted to do, as opposed to what the adult told us that we had to do. So I'm just saying, if I think about me, I remember all the times my mom would ask me something and I would go, no, but just I would be lying through my teeth. Oh, Miss such and such said you did this. Did you do that? No, I don't know why she would say that. She's just gonna make that up. Now again, there are some individuals out there that are not right, and they do make up stories. Adults. You have to know your children, though.
Right.
That's the thing. You have to know your children. I knew when my children were not telling the truth or when they were being honest.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, I also knew their teachers. I also knew the people that were around them, so I could get a gauge on them too, and see how they were. If there were some teachers that I felt were negative, I felt that they were not so positive influences, so I would have talks with my children and say, now I don't feel like this teacher is gonna have your best interest at heart, so don't give her or him any problems, because they're looking to find fault in you. I could see that too, and I spent enough time at the schools. I spent enough time with the teachers, because again, all adults aren't right, but you have to be intentional about being involved. Now I had some super-tastic teachers also that loved and adored my children, and I valued them because I knew they were seriously taking care of my children. They were concerned about them, and they were letting me know the positive and the not so positive. So I built those relationships with the people that were influencing my children, so I I would know if something were right and wrong. And that's the thing. We got to be connected to our children and their surroundings, their environment, so we know what's going on with them. Would you agree?
Definitely. I think it's very true. And I'll say I definitely will be quick to say a lie. If like a teacher was saying something, I would definitely just be like, no, that didn't happen. But I will also say too, to being involved, it's very, very important, because even though the kids are crazy, some of these adults be crazy too.
Yeah.
And now they're letting anybody teach.
Correct.
Because there's such a shortage of teachers that it doesn't matter what you do, what your credentials are.
Right.
These fake background checks, they are literally anyone and everyone in these schools with these children who are supposed to be trusting them, but sometimes they do have ulterior motives. So it's up to the parent to really vet these people and to know for themselves how to tell their children to be around these people. So yeah.
And that's why I'm saying we have to be that. As a parent, it is our responsibility. I mean, we have kids. Kids are precious.
For sure.
You know, my kids were worth more than diamonds, worth more than millions.
Okay, then.
I mean, they're precious to me. My children were precious to me. So I cared about who they were around.
Yeah.
I cared about who was influencing them. I cared about who was pouring into them, who they wanted to spend time with, because it didn't just matter about my environment at home. You know, one of the things me and your brother talked about, he was saying, and we're going to have him on to talk about this some more too, but one of the things he kept saying was, Mom, it wasn't just the fact that you created an environment at home, but you also were very cautious about our environment.
For sure.
They couldn't go any and everywhere. I allowed them to go to certain people's house because I had talked to the parents, or I did get a chance to spend time with them. But a lot of times, if I didn't, it was usually a consequence to that. Like the things I didn't know about is because I didn't have these conversations, or they may have gone once, but they didn't go back anymore. It would always be something where I didn't always know what was going on. But that's the thing. You still got to be that involved where you're saying, I don't know if this is the best environment for my children, or I don't know if they have the same principles that I teach here at home, so that might not be a good influence for them.
That just made me think about, I had a best friend.
Oh yeah.
In elementary.
We won't say her name.
Definitely not. But I went to her home, and her mom was there, but her dad was there also. And I think she had told my mom that he wasn't going to be there.
Correct.
Or something like that. So when I called my mom, and I was just checking in, it wasn't like saying I was ready to go or anything.
Yeah, you were just calling home.
Yeah, I was just calling, and I don't know. I think I had already stayed the night over there, but I was going to stay the night again, or trying to, maybe. And I was saying how we were all there at the house, and I mentioned that her dad was there. And when I say my mama was there in the next 30 minutes to come get me, and I did not go back.
Yeah. Well, this was what actually happened. So I had a thing about girls being left with the fathers because I didn't really know the father. I was very well acquainted with the mother, but I was not as acquainted with the father. I didn't mind them being there when both of them were there,
for sure,
but I did not want the girls there with just the father. That was just something that I had in my spirit that said, no, they cannot stay with the father alone. Well, I told the mother that. I said, I asked her if she had to go to work. She said, no, I'm going to be here with the girls. Well, when you called me, I said, well, where's the mom? And then you told me that she got called into work. And I said, well, who are y'all there with? And she said they were there with the father. I got in my car. I called the mother. I said, where are you? And she said, oh, well, I ended up having to go to work. And I said, didn't I ask you to let me know if you were going to? And I felt, to me, that was a slap in my face, because I had already made it clear that I didn't want Chyna there without her being there, without her supervision, because she was there with the mindset that the mother was taking care of them.
Right.
And so when she was not going to be there, to me, And again, these were just my thought processes. They might not be yours, but this was my thought process. And so when she went to work and left the girls there with the father, I immediately got in my car, went and got Chyna, and she did not go back over there again because I felt like that was a betrayal and that she felt I shouldn't have been concerned about that. But that was not her judgment call.
Right.
That was how I felt as her mother. This was my way of doing my parenting.
Right.
And it'd be different if I hadn't made this very clear.
Yeah.
I had communicated all of that.
And you hadn't even met her dad.
I didn't know her father like that.
And as I'm older now, I definitely understand it just because you just never know.
Yeah.
But I was innocent at that point.
Right.
I had no idea.
She was like, why am I going home and why am I never going back?
Right. I was not happy about that. But looking back now, I definitely understand why that was important.
You just, again, my children are precious jewels. And I was adamant about my thought processes and what needed to happen or didn't happen. That was just something that I had a thing about, and the lines were crossed because it went against what I asked for. And again, I felt like the mom was trying to make me trust her husband, but I didn't know him like that to trust him. So I was trusting her.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to do that. I just chose to.
Yeah.
So that was it.
I'll also say too, even with the environments, like even with my friends, my mom always told me if she didn't like somebody,
right,
or she didn't feel good about it, wasn't even that she didn't like him, it was just if she didn't feel good about them or felt like I didn't need to hang around them or they weren't a good influence, she let it be very known. Now, did I listen all the time? No, but it was made very clear, and she showed it in her actions. Like sometimes when I would want to go over to a person's house, she'll be like, no, or they don't need to come over here, or stuff like that. Like she definitely played a role in being present in my other relationships and knowing who I was hanging around and who was coming over or whose house I was going over and all the things, and even their family members, because it's sometimes not even them, it's just their family and who they're around.
Exactly, because I remember once we had gone over to one of her other friends' house, and they were having a party over there, and we went to the party, but I came and stayed a little while, and I saw all the people that not just lived in that house but were coming in and out of that house, and I was saying, absolutely not.
Okay, I'm about to ask who this was after, because I don't remember.
I remember. Well, I'll say this, their name started with an M, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
Oh, that was in high school. Well, yeah, that was in high school.
Yeah, but I was like, absolutely not.
That was my girl too.
She was your girl, but you weren't going over her house after I came over there and saw all those people running in and out of the house, and it just seemed to be chaotic. Like,
it was chaotic.
Nobody cared about who was coming in and out of the house.
We had so much fun though.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was a lot of fun, but
oh gosh,
I just felt like it was open game for whatever, and nobody was paying attention to who, and I was like, absolutely,
it was a party.
Yeah, it was a party, but that's how they lived. That was a lifestyle.
They did that all the time.
That was not a just because we're having a party. You could tell they were coming in free, in and out as if it was their home. Some of them actually lived there, which were a lot of people. And then it was just people coming in and out. And I just don't do well with that with my children.
Right.
It's like, oh no, I don't know any of y'all. I don't know if I'll ever see y'all again. But y'all gonna have this much access to my children? Right. Absolutely not.
That's so funny. I know exactly what you're talking about now. And that's, good times.
Yeah, I'm sure it was fun, but we put a halt to that.
Yeah.
And we can say she's better for it. How about that? She's here in her right mind. Doing the Okay Then show.
There you go. There you go.
She didn't lose any joy from her life for being removed from that situation.
That's hilarious. Yep. Yeah.
And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to end it here on this segment. But what I want to do is come back again and we'll talk more about this, and we'll bring in even some more people down the line just to focus on this parenting thing, because I feel like we are in need of some assistance, some guidance, some more conversation. And one of the reasons why I feel like people ask me about parenting is because they do see my children. Now, again, nobody's perfect. No child is perfect.
Yeah.
No parenting is perfect. All you can do is the best that you can with the wisdom that you get, and pray and get guidance from the Lord on how to do this thing. I did a lot of praying. I kept a lot of godly women around me, and a lot of godly men. A lot of godly men played such a role in my directing because their father was not here with me.
Right.
So I would lean to them for questions answered because I didn't feel like I knew everything, but
Right.
I felt like the Lord provided all that wisdom around me because I had a young man and I had a young woman. And to see who they are now, I'm going to say that has been my blessing.
Yeah. Yay. You're an amazing mother.
Woo. Hallelujah. That's all I can say.
Yeah. I'll definitely say, as you get older, I think I'll understand it more even if I do have children. You just understand everything more, and
Yeah.
the discipline and the talks and the conversations and all of the things that help you to grow. And it's definitely appreciated and needed for all children and even adults. Like we just get older.
Yeah.
But
You still need that direction.
no, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very grateful to have had you as a mother.
Thank you, daughter. And same here. I'm so glad you're my baby.
Yeah. And yeah, it was an experience. But we're here now. Okay? We on the OK Then show. Okay?
We're on the other side.
Right.
We are on the other side. Yes.
But that does make sense though, for people also to come to you to see the outcome of how we're close now, and even with Chris, y'all's relationship, and how even me and Chris have our relationship. Because
And we'll talk about that on our next show, because I want to deal with the sibling
for sure
relationship too, and dealing with discipline and the consequences of you all having issues too.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to talk about that.
And it was all dealt with. Because we're here now. Yeah.
Oh, but that's
yeah.
what's so great. It's so great. And again, another thing I want to make sure we talk about is my eyes with children. They give off something. That's what I'm told. So we're going to focus on that too on one of the other shows. So it'll help some of these parents know how to utilize
Yeah, them
their
eyes. Okay,
Yeah, they
gotta
work.
give them that look.
Uh-huh.
Once you get that look, you know.
Yeah.
You gotta
that
get
look.
it together.
Yeah. There's some power in these eyes. I'll just tell you that right now.
She definitely got them eyes. Okay. She got the whole face.
And it's not about being attractive or anything like that. It's all about the power
Yeah.
and what those eyes are communicating.
Uh-huh.
That's what it's about.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you okay with?
I'm okay with disciplining my children at all times, no matter how old they are.
Yeah. I'm being okay with the way she disciplined me. Okay? Still being okay with it. And that's all.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Yeah. But this was so great.
Yes, it is. It's great having this conversation.
Yeah, so make sure y'all are tuning in every Wednesday at 9 a.m. on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube and Spotify.
Yeah. And make sure you are following OK Then Show on Instagram, as well as all social media platforms. And also make sure you're on the website, tailorwaist.com.
Yeah.
You all have been asking me about my hats that I've been wearing, so we want to make sure you're able to get those at Taylor Waist, TailorWaist.com. Order
Get you a hat.
or some of our fashions,
Oh,
right?
yeah, get you some clothes too.
Yeah, hey. So thank you again for tuning in. We pray that you've gotten a word on discipline, and give us some suggestions as well. Share some comments about how you've had to discipline your children, or some things that worked or didn't work. Let us know so we can talk about it on our up and coming shows. So thank you for tuning in.
Okay then.
Here we go. Okay then. Bye then.